In this video, we're going to talk about the next step in creating a client electronic record, and that is to move on to the entry exit. So we've created our household, we've created our ROI, and now we're going to create an entry exit for our client. So I'm going to click on the entry exit tab. I'm still on that house record I started on. I've not had to backdate at this point or do enter data as mode. And I'm going to, at this point, click on Add Entry Exit to create a new entry for this client. Again, without going into either backdate or enter data as mode. Now, once here, we can no longer backdate or into enter data as mode is because it's here in step process, and it continues to carry that with the data as we go through the data entry for the project. So since I'm enrolling a couple in this project, I need to be sure that I select both members of the household, so they'll be joined together in this project entry. I need to also set the provider. This is something, if you're using enter data as mode in the past, was fairly automatic for you. You had to set it before you came in. But now, in case you've forgotten and are not the right provider, it prompts on the screen what provider you are at the time. At this point, we're the training center, which is the agency, and we need to set this to the project level provider. So we're doing this for an SSVF type project. So I'm going to click on SSVF Rapid Rehousing. And this is a unique one in that all of your projects are generally HUD projects, but the SSVF project is a VA, a Veterans Administration project. So we're going to select a VA project type for this one instead of what we would typically pick for our other projects. And now, instead of being in backdate mode, we're going to set our project entry date back to the date that we collected the data. In this case, we've been working with the date of April 1st of 2015. So I'll set my entry date for that. I don't need to change my time at this point. I can click Save and Continue. And when I go to the next screen, I'll see that my provider is set to the right provider without being in EDA mode. My project type is the appropriate type. Both of my household numbers are joined together in this project entry. And I'll see the entry segment that's the default one set my standard entry. So I select my entry data off my entry. I have some additional here as well that if I entered from icon or the SDF program program, typically will have a supplemental for the head household or for the veteran only, and in case we'll deal with how to enter that for that client. As I scroll down here, see that I'm still in my household's records, and that client is set here. That my entry date is set without being in backdate mode, and the time is set. So all of my data is going to take on this date and time right here. Whether I enter it now or whether I come back in later and edit this data, it will still pick up the same date and time for this provider that's at the top. They're no longer need backdate data as this mode. Again, going through here, if I were not doing this as training, I see that I have a requirement for the blue items. They are HUD fields, they're bold, and then conditional items, conditionally required items are not bolded, but they're still blue, meaning they're required if a condition is met. In this case, if other type of residency is picked, then I need to specify what that is. Bold and black items, in this case on this entry, are required locally, and then green items may be required by your agency and be on your intake, but if they're not required by your agency, you won't be required to enter them here, and you'll see them as we go through. Anything that's required by the system to be entered will be bolded and have an asterisk at the end, and there are very few of those types of questions typically appear in a sub-assessment. So rather than go through and enter all of this data at this time for sake of training, so I want to demonstrate how the data works. And so I'm going to scroll to the bottom and bypass entering all this. I'll click on the Save button. And please don't do this in record, because we do need to collect all this data. It does only need to be filled out, and it should be complete on your intake. You can see there's not really anything in here that shouldn't collect for just about everyone. A couple of green questions that not all these are collecting, but most probably are. So as I scroll back up here, see what happens when I hit the Save button. First of all, we have households that I've been on. Check mark the green here for this client, meaning that this assessment has been saved for this client. Up here I said I have a yellow mark, which means that not every client in this session has had this assessment saved, and I can see that I haven't done Johnny right yet. At this point, since this is a head of household, it's likely that this supplemental for the Veterans Program applies to them as well. So I would click on the supplemental and go to that while I'm on this client, and it brings in this supplemental assessment now, and I enter any of these questions appropriate, which should be all of them. Okay, so I'll do that quickly. So you can see also that this is the same type of situation. So I have a start date here with an asterisk in it. I have to enter that data. That is the default to our project entry date, which is appropriate. If I have a permanent address of the client, put it in. But in this case, what's important here is the zip code of last address. If nothing more than the zip code, this is what the Veterans Administration is looking for. So I might put in that one. And enter that data. I need to apply that data to zip code and confirm it. I can do that. And that meets the requirement for the zip code and zip code data quality that the V is looking for. At this point, I can save, and that returns back to my screen. And I can then go back to the standard assessment and complete that for the other members of the household. So I can see now that I have both of these assessments have yellow check marks, which means I've completed it for at least the head household, and I need to now work on the second client's data. The second client is not a veteran, doesn't require the veteran supplemental, so in this case I would just this standard entry data and move on. And again, for the sake of time in this demonstration, I'm going to skip down to the bottom and click on the Save button again. Show you that the visual cues here are giving me an idea that the same clients now, they both have green check marks, and if it's part of the project to do that also for the supplement, you make sure that I do that before sending this client. Life cycle. At this point, I can click